Hello there, and welcome to the TTP Field Manual podcast. Throughout the month of December, we will be releasing a series of character dossiers for our Advent Calendar project that we call Final Days. This is one of them. These shorter episodes will be each spotlighting a very specific character from across the lore and the tabletop of Warhammer 40k. The episodes will be very casual, a bit of an overview of the characters' personalities, what they've done in the lore, and a little bit about what they do on the tabletop. We wanted to do this as a bit of an easy listening, casual love for the hobby, just to round out the year. We hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for listening, and happy holidays. Order. Unity. Obedience. We taught the galaxy these things long ago, and we will do so again. Johnny, who am I talking about?
This sounds Necron-pilled.
It sounds very Necron-pilled, those little conquering bastards.
Hey. It's not conquering if you're just taking back what was originally yours, right?
Yes, there is quite a distinction. But after 60 million years of having a big old nap, get over it. You had your moment.
So,
but yes.
Which robotic man are we talking about today, Joshy boy?
All right. This is going to be episode 1 of the 2025 Final Days collection of things.
Episode 1?
Yeah, you've already heard the brief at the start of the episode that will be recorded separately, Johnny. But Imotekh, fresh off the little string of Necron episodes you've just been listening to in November, we're going to have Imotekh the Stormlord, Johnny.
Imotekh. This guy's that guy that does the zappy stuff.
Kind of. He is also called the Stormlord because he does do zappy stuff. Although, I must admit...
Sick model.
Yeah. The storm part of Stormlord doesn't necessarily indicate electricity, but vortexes, dark energies, storms nonetheless. You may as well say it's lightning. All right. So... not too much to talk about with Imotekh, unlike, well, Cthulhu's. Imotekh is quite possibly the most well-known of all the Necron individuals throughout the tapestry of them after probably Trazyn. This is from both like an in-lore mention, but also from a player-based mention, as this guy's been around longer than the Silent King model-wise, and lore-wise, I think. Even so, he's pretty cool, without having a ginormous chair.
Yeah, I mean, the Silent King kind of buggered off for a bit and was hiding in sadness, so someone had to lead the Necron forces in his absence, right?
So the classic Necron image throughout the 40k history is the silver tide of Necron bodies with the green Gauss blasters, yes?
Yes.
So that silver-coloured scheme is the Sautekh Dynasty. The Sautekh Dynasty is quite a militaristic one. They are more or less blessed by being a bunch of great military generals. A lot of their upper nobility are military generals, and as such, they are very adept at prolonged conflicts and strategy and logistics. Imotekh did not always start off as the Phaeron of the Sautekh Dynasty, which is the leader. He was but a humble Nemesaur, which is a military general. But the reason for his ascension was because after the big old Great Sleep, the Sautekh Dynasty started to wake up, except their Phaeron was lost to the hibernation side effects that plague a lot of the Necrons. They were just broken and didn't reanimate or reactivate properly.
Dad forgot to wake up.
Dad could not wake up. It was pretty tragic for the dynasty because a lot of lesser nobility would have this assumption that they should then take that spot and lead. And what was happening was that the Sautekh Dynasty was having a lot of like civil war. They were having like little fractious alliances within the dynasty to go against each other until one such noble decided, You know who's really good at conflicts? Imotekh. I'm going to go wake him up. Be right back. And he wakes up Imotekh. Imotekh wakes up and he's sort of like, so what's going on? We're fighting each other? Goodness me. Who let you dumb cunts out?
Whoa.
He's like, I hate this. I cannot stand for this. I'm going to take control because y'all are incompetent. Is basically his approach. Like, you guys are not worthy. You guys do not have our best intentions. You are doing it for selfish reasons. I won't. And actually flipped the script on this whole vying for power civil war of the dynasty. He basically took all the would-be power grabbers and executed them, or at least a lot of them, as like summary executions of like treason and the like. Declare that he would be the Phaeron and an outlawed any internal conflict. Like, you just were not allowed to go against.
That's pretty cool. Dude's just like,
Stop it.
sit in the corner and stop fighting.
Big slap on the wrist. He's like, stop it. And if you don't stop, I'll kill ya. I'll turn off your reanimations, which he actually did. Several of the individuals he would deal with would no longer be coming back.
Ooh. Which is a pretty big deal when the Necrons are finite.
Yeah, it's something that if you read Infinite and the Divine, it's actually a threat that is offered by the Triarchs, is if you don't do as the ruling courts decree, we're going to turn off your reanimation privileges. Like, they actually
Crazy
call
for
it a
that.
privilege.
Yep.
So Imotekh then looks around. It's like, oh, okay. We're all waking up a little bit slow. There are some other dynasties. There's a lot of also threats in the galaxy. How are we going to navigate this? And this is where Imotekh's true genius really begins to emerge. Because whilst Necrons are really smart, they can think in nanoseconds, they can analyze a bunch of data far quicker than even like a human, like supercomputer of the AdMech could plausibly do so. And Imotekh is like the pinnacle of that.
He's a tactical genius.
Genius is not even the right word.
Sorry, savant.
Not even that. It is suggested that Imotekh's ability of logistics and military strategy and planning for all events and outcomes borders on mythical.
Nice.
Yeah, right. The only thing Imotekh struggles against are forces that don't conduct with strategy, such as the orcs. He has this hard time figuring out how to deal with orcs because they don't actually adhere to any form of strategy.
Yeah, I could see why that would be the case. This guy would hate the 40k game because it's too reliant on dice.
Yeah, so Imotekh would hate any set of chance, and even if not, he would be able to compute every single interaction and possibility in the 5 battle rounds of 40k in like an instant and come up with a plan of counter strategies, counter attacks, tactical retreats, and just all of that stuff like in an instant.
You lost before you even picked up your gun.
That's more or less the idea. The Sautekh Dynasty has become the widest reaching of the Necron dynasties, with over 80 tomb worlds active inside the dynasty, which is like 4 times more than the next biggest.
Yep.
Other Nemesaurs of the Sautekh Dynasty, like Zandrek, are really happy with Imotekh, and Imotekh's really happy with them. And so even like Nemesaur is able to basically be left to control like a dozen or so worlds himself, like Nemesaur Zandrek, because the Sautekh are just doing well. They're doing pretty all right, Johnny.
I mean, do you think Imotekh is really that happy with Nemesaur Zandrek? He did get Legendsified, while
True.
Imotekh got a brand new model.
I think Imotekh wouldn't have seen Legends coming, to be honest. It seems a little chaos-pilled.
Ouch.
Ouch. So, the Stormlord, as he is known, is pretty well regarded for having quite a vast amount of like warriors and war machines and the like at his disposal. And he's just able to tailor battlefields and conflict maps to exactly what he wants. He's able to deploy like a large amount of warriors, which looks impressive, but is really just a distraction. So he'll encourage like enemy forces to fall upon the blade of just a bunch of warriors that will reanimate later on, whilst he'll have like doom scythes and stuff like actually like in a completely different planet just materialize and death ray the high command, because they just sent a lot of their forward forces off to go fight the warriors, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It is said that Sautekh conflict is never really well understood if it's a decoy or if it's the real threat.
That's terrifying.
It really is. There's moments where like he'll be sent against like a kind of like a Forge world or a really well reinforced Imperium planet with a bunch of orbital defense batteries. And then instead of fighting that head on, he'll think to himself, well, what's supplying this planet? And then he'll go and attack the supply planets instead. And so once he's dealt with the supply planets, by the time those reinforcements have come to defend the supply planets, they've just left their main world a lot more open. And so his forces that were hiding in wait get to just attack right away. As soon as the confirmation is that they've left it vulnerable, the real force is already attacking. And he'll have like cryptex deploy all sorts of traps and creations to turn off a lot of the orbital defenses, including at one point like a mechanophage that just eliminated the machine spirits of orbital defense guns to the point where they were basically just metal decor.
Yep. All right.
And just win. Just win, no dramas, just wins.
Yeah.
Very minimal losses from Mr. Stormlord. He does have one particular weakness, though, when it comes to actually dealing with his opponents. He doesn't like to kill his rivals. He likes to make an example of them, to let them sit with their defeat. And this is, probably misguided when one of his most infamous rivals in the setting is the Black Templars High Marshal Helbrecht. How well do you think Black Templars go when you make them feel humiliated in battle?
Oh, that sounds like the biggest atrocity you could possibly commit upon a Black Templar.
Yeah, it is.
That's like telling them not to crusade.
Yeah, it basically is the case. Imotekh, at one point, nearing a Black Templar's set of fellows, actually baited them onto a tomb ship, like, hey, bunch of Xenos in orbit, maybe you should come fight us. A lot of posturing and aggressive deployment. So naturally the Black Templar's like, oh crap, Xenos, let's go. And they board a tomb ship, for example. And then Imotech's like, idiots. And then blows up the tomb ship while every Space Marine had landed inside it.
Love
like,
that.
I don't need that tomb ship, but I need you guys dead, so here's the trap. Boom.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. And then many years later, those Black Templars would obviously have been in another engagement with the Sautekh Dynasty to the point where Helbrecht himself would actually 1v1 Imotekh the Stormlord.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, naturally Helbrecht is a superior duelist. Imotech's more of a strategist.
Yeah, yep.
But Imotekh has just got the works. He has got a fantastically resilient reanimating body, and basically any instance of damage Helbrecht was inflicting, seconds would pass and the Stormlord was healed up again.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like a fair fight fighting Necron.
No, the Stormlord has a couple of war gear pieces that aren't really represented on the tabletop at the moment, but such things feel really undead coded, such as a phylactery, which is a small vial of nanoscarabs that will boost the natural reanimation processes if need be, to the point where if Imotekh were to die, the phylactery would open and the scarabs would be able to reanimate him enough that then the proper protocols would then take hold.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's also got a Sempiternal Weave, which is often an enhancement or a relic in Necron rule sets, but a Sempiternal Weave is basically like reinforced necrodermis with other trace minerals such as like adamantium and things of that nature being woven into the necrodermis as well, so he's even hardier to actually hurt.
Which translates toughness 5.
Yeah, it's so funny. It is compared to Terminator Plate, and they are toughness 5.
Yep.
But even so, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Lore and game can't really equal each other because then balance goes out the window, even though it would be quite fun. But despite Helbrecht's best efforts, he could not kill a constantly rejuvenating Tin Man. And so Stormlord, who's also fairly adept at fighting, does manage to inflict enough damage to Helbrecht that Helbrecht was unable to keep fighting.
Forced to retreat.
Yeah, the Stormlord basically says, go with your failure, and severs Helbrecht's hand, and then just kicks him off the glacier.
That's pretty rude.
Oh, it's so rude, dude. But 70 years would pass from this moment, and the Black Templars are still seething at this, to the point where they actually do manage to ambush the tomb ship that is Imotech's personal flagship, the Inevitable Conqueror. Like, they manage to ambush it and get on board it, because at this point they're not fighting with conventional strategies, because they are the Black Templars and they're frothing mad. So Imotekh actually does have to flee, but in all of his wisdom, he knows that he can't actually win this fight, and there's no point to actually go out fighting. So he and all of his command staff actually teleport to inactive nearby escort ships and is like drop shipping away.
Peace out.
Lifeboating away, I suppose.
They retreat.
Yeah. But there are some funny little moments here and there. Like, for example, he gets ambushed by Logan Grimnar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he gets ambushed by Logan Grimnar and the Space Wolves, who are actually trying to hunt down Trazyn the Infinite, who actually stole something from them, because of course he did.
I was going to say, that's what Trazyn does.
So Imotekh wasn't really in a conflict with Logan until all of a sudden there he is.
They're like, all you Necrons look alike.
Yeah, so there's a lot of little moments where he gets caught off guard by the more savage aspects of the galaxy. The things that he can't quite predict, he would never fight by acting like a mindless berserker.
I mean, you can't really predict we thought you were Trazyn.
No, you really can't. But he also can adapt really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
If he is fighting the orcs, he'll figure out immediately the key structural components of their leadership and be like, all right, I guess I'll deal with them, rather than just throw meat into the grinder. He is super adaptable.
Yeah, yep.
And super widespread in his thinking processes. He basically plays 5D chess with star systems. I know most people think, oh, we're going to fight on a single planet or a single solar system. Dude's like, no, I've plotted the entire trajectory of a conflict for this whole subsystem of worlds and star systems. This whole region of space I've thought about in a millisecond.
This dude is impressive.
He is extremely impressive. And then with the most recent lore parts of him in the War of the Pariah Nexus, which we'll be talking about in many other episodes of our podcasting life, I'm sure, because everything's connected, Johnny.
Everything's connected.
Everything. So Pariah Nexus, if you don't know, Necrons went bye-bye to a region of space in their connection to the warp, or at least are in the process of it. It's a rough time. Zarek is trying to undo biotransference and the warp at the same time. People like Imotekh are like, hey, I don't think we should go back to cancer-ridden fleshies, TBH.
Which is fair. Fair take.
He's basically like, do you know how powerful we are right now? Why should we go back to what we were, if it were to even work, all because our king, who sold us out in the first place, feels bad about it?
He has some very relevant points.
In the War in Heaven, Zarek himself basically had a command node of all dynasties. They basically had to do what he said as somewhat thralls to his will. After they did out with all of the Khitans they could and decided to go for a big sleep, Zarek unlocked that command node, allowing the dynasties to think independently, or at least act independently. And so when this War in the Prime Nexus occurs, we have several dynasties that are vassals to Zarek and the Zarek Khan, promised riches and weapons of war and territorial expansions. They're all, yep, let's go with that. Zarek and his vassal kingdoms are the only sizable countenance to the Zarakan element, and so Imotekh tries to like poke holes in his game plans. He actually orchestrates a lot of moments such as, all right, so I'm going to piss off this set of human combatants. They're going to pursue me. I am now going to deploy a lot of my forces to one of the pylon worlds that is activating this whole Prior Nexus thing that is being defended by Zarakan vassal state. What that is going to do is force the Zarakan elements to come and fight my forces. Oh, look at that. Partway through this fight, the Imperium's here. They followed me here. Oh, look at that. The Zarakan are now going to be fighting a war on two fronts. Oh, look at that. We've fled the world just in time for the pylon to crack apart and the world to also start to crack apart. How neat. I've taken minimal losses and two of my, opponents have taken substantial losses. Great stuff. And he does things like that all the time in this war, or at least enough times that Zarek is like frothing mad, and he's also fighting off other things like the Admech with his doomsday weapons. So many things that even like his vassal states begin to petition to no longer be part of their alliance because they're like, hold on, man, that's too far. You're doing Geneva war crimes here.
Checklist, you mean?
That's it. You're doing a checklist. You're pardoning the technomandrites. You're unleashing things such as Lash Udra.
Like, we can't be okay with this no matter what.
Even Oricana Diviner is having his astromantic projections coming back as like, fail or bad omens or just things that aren't quite right. He's like, if we keep doing the Prior Nexus thing, something's going to happen and it's going to be really bad for us. What do you say? And then Zarek's like, nah, you're just huffing it. You don't know what you're on about.
You're joshing me.
You're just joshing me. And so he goes back to Imotekh and is like, hey, fellow Sautekhi, I've got some projections you should probably review. And Imotekh's like, oh my god, I also have future sight now? Wonderful.
Nice.
There's a lot of like companionship between them as the conflict goes on, and they're able to, through Orikan's like divine foresight and Imotekh's strategical genius, they're able to like tip these scales in ways that other Necron players just simply cannot reckon with because just of how they conduct themselves and how they're engaging things like the Imperium and other things like that. But yeah, that is pretty much Imotekh in a nutshell, Johnny. He's got the classics, special staff of light. He's got the reanimation stuff. He's an overlord. He's got overlord profile. He's got a gauntlet of fire, which is basically a torrent weapon. Actually, his Staff of the Destroyer is, in-game, a bit stronger than a Staff of Light at 632, but it's only 3 attacks, so yeah.
But Joshy, in-game, he's missing the cool ability.
Is it Bloodswarm Scarabs?
Damn straight it's Bloodswarm Scarabs. I want to throw a bomb at someone that attracts flayed ones from the red zone.
So yeah, it's not very well explained, but the Stormlord does have this supernatural ability to call forth dark vortexes of energy upon battlefields, and also has this ability to infect these storms with micro scarabs that have upon them the scent of gore and death and blood that attracts the flayed ones like fishing lures. And so if he's up against an opponent that he cripples or at least hampers enough, before it gets bad for his actual forces, he'll just be like, Storm, boop, all right, everyone, let's go. Before it gets too bad, flayed one's coming, let's get out of here, bite, boom.
Yep. Yeah, nah, he's very cool. And hot damn, what a cloak.
What a cloak. One thing I've been really enjoying about the new reimagined models for a lot of the factions is how honorable they are towards what was. Like, compare 2023 Imotech's model to 2011, and it's really good.
Yeah, it's the same pose. It's very similar kind of like structure. It's just refined. It's in the new Necron style instead of the old Necron style.
Yeah, a little less Egyptian metal and a little more
skeletal robot
of its own take. Yeah, a little more skeletal robot, its own sort of take on the aesthetic. But in the game, Imotekh is pretty fantastic. He's 100 points. He's got an invuln 4 with 6 wounds, toughness 5. So that's pretty good. He does have his Staff of the Destroyer, which is a better Staff of Light. In melee, he also gets dev wounds on his 4 attacks, 632 weapon, but I wouldn't worry about Imotekh being actually like in combat because for 15 points cheaper, you can take other overlords and save Imotekh for his Grand Strategist ability to just give you a command point in your command phase.
Yeah, you can just stand back and chill.
Now, I know people have a little bit of issue with his Lord of the Storm ability for a once per battle AoE bomb because, you know, he might not get to do that or might not get to actually get much damage out of it. You basically roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 12 inches of him. On a 2 to 5, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortals. On a 6, the enemy unit suffers d3 plus 3. You've had this ability before. He gets it once per game. I've marched this fellow up against Zack and his Death Guard. And I think on like turn 3, I think I melted a Blight Lord, blew up a Rhino, crippled a Fetid Bloat Drone that my warriors then finished off, and as well chipped into a couple of his characters, all for just one ability.
Yeah.
Imotekh.
But
that's pretty much all I've got for Imotekh. What do you think?
I think Imotekh is a very cool character. I really like the strategic mastermind side of things, and I love that he has that downside of if the opponent is too unpredictable, it's going to be a bad time for me. I definitely feel more aligned with what his side of the Prior Nexus fence. I think that the Silent King is a little stuck in the past, which is fair. He is the reason it happened. He kind of deserves a little bit of guilt, but I feel like going back to what they were is not the answer. Not when what they were was so terrible.
I mean, for the Sautekh, who have an 80 Tomb World strong empire at this stage, why do you need to?
Yeah, but also for the ones that don't have a big influence, why would they want to go back to mortality?
Exactly.
There has to be a middle ground where you can have freedom without the cancer.
Yeah, there's a little bit of this nihilism that's starting to go about, like some of Zarek's allies, like, oh, I don't know about this one, mate.
Yeah, no, I definitely...
Because he's doing it with a lot of gusto as well, you know, he's unleashing just extremely powerful weapons and allies that were once branded as terrorists within their empire.
By any means necessary.
Xerath is a piece of work.
Oh, why is that?
Maybe next year we'll talk about it.
He's a cool guy too. Sick model.
I do have one last little bit to mention about Imotekh, and it's something I actually was considering talking about in our Catan episode, but I figured I'd leave for any time we touched upon Imotekh and the Sautekh.
Alright, go on.
So, you remember Void Dragon, right? Inventor of such things as Blackstone pylons.
Void Dragon?
Magladroth, yeah.
Magladroth? That guy inside Mars?
Well, part of him.
Yeah. I know who you are on about.
In Sautekh airspace, or I guess you could just say space.
Realm space?
That's a
real
good one.
Space?
In Sautekh, realm space, real space, there is a questionable artifact just hovering about called the Imgar Monolith, or however you want to pronounce YMGA.
Okay, yep.
Imgar is the best I've come up with. It is an interesting one because it's definitely Necron, and the Imperium are definitely like, oh my god, we gotta blow this up. Because what actually happens is anytime a Necron like weapon platform or warrior, whatever, contacts the monolith, it's duplicated. Like for realsies.
Whoa. Like duplicated.
Yeah, so if one Doom Scythe flies into its energy, 2 comes out.
But do Necrons have souls anymore?
Every Necron has an extent of a soul that increases by ranking of them, with the warriors having like nothing.
Nothing
Next
at
to
all.
nothing.
Okay.
They have like the faintest trace.
Because I know that part of the biotransference deed was the Catan kind of like ate their souls or feasted upon their energies, I guess. So I was like, surely you can't just duplicate a soul. Isn't that supposed to be like immutable? 40k. Souls aren't real.
But the Imga monolith is an interesting one because like the Eldari have a webway portal close to it with the intention to monitor it. It is believed that early in the Great Crusade, even one of the Lost Primarchs led an expedition to this monolith, and then from there, it's anybody's guess.
Which one?
It's either 2 or 11.
Oh, one of those ones. Okay.
Yeah, the lost ones.
I thought you meant like one of the ones that are currently lost. Not one
No,
of the ones that don't actually exist.
the non-existing ones. We'll have a theory episode on them one day, I feel. But it wasn't until after the Great Rift and the 13th Black Crusade, blah blah blah, that the area around it actually had a warp storm occur called Cerberax. And Cerberax was interesting because unlike normal warp storms, it actually created a sphere of perfect order, to the point that the tech priests of Mars were able to actually go and check it out, because this warp storm was like preventing any sort of like warp-based calamity to affect it. And then they realized that this is a Necron phasing node, like of immense power.
Yeah, it duplicates Necrons. Of course it's powerful.
But if it's one of the Void Dragon's tool sets, then obviously it's able to be uninfected by the warp.
Not only that, if it's Void Dragon related, the AdMech will be like, machine spirit.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the Sautekh Dynasty are like, oh, that's interesting. And so they go to check it out, but Cerberax from it spawns just a lot of demons of Khorne. And so the Sautekh Dynasty are in like this space conflict with Khorne demons. But every time like a ship makes contact with the monolith, it's duplicated. So it does specify ship.
So you just get those 2 ships to turn back around and fly into it and make 4. And those 4 make 8. And you have an infinite army of vehicles.
Yeah, and the Sautekh has that.
And that's definitely something that our boy would use, because that's very intelligent. There's no tactical downside.
They just have to navigate Khorne demons to get to it and out of it.
Yeah, but if anyone can manage that, it's probably not Imotekh, actually. Khorne demons don't have a lot of plan outside of kill, maim, burn.
But yes, Johnny, that's Imotekh and a little bit of Sautekh and a little bit of Catan at the end there. Good stuff,
Yeah,
eh?
you got to talk about the stuff around them. That's fair.
Some good stuff. All right. I got nothing else for you.
All right. Peace out. See you in a couple of days.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more on the way, so stay tuned. If you can, it would mean a lot to us if you could share this with friends, people you know will probably enjoy the episodes that we're putting out. If you are enjoying the Field Manual podcast, if you've been really enjoying these episodes and want to share your thoughts with us, maybe have some ideas about what you'd like us to cover next, jump onto our Discord. There'll be a link in the bio of this episode. It's a fun little community we're hoping to grow, where people can come in, share their work in progress photos, have a chat about the hobbies, chat with us, we'll chat with you. We chat about our upcoming book clubs and things of that nature. Love to see you there. Thank you very much.